What's going on, y'all? It's your boy H Dog, and I'm back here with another video. And I've been thinking about making a video like this for quite some time. I probably should have made it when after I seen gameplay for Need for Speed Heat, and probably sooner than that. But I digress. I've been looking at this Need for Speed Heat, and a lot of people, like myself included, have been looking at Need for Speed Heat as possibly this being. I mean, we ain't saying it. I mean, it's pretty much like a good possibility of this being a best of series when it comes to Need for Speed, like the stuff that we like when it comes to what we're seeing, the gameplay. Got pro street elements, it got most wanted elements, it got carbon elements. I mean, you can't plow through a roadblock like a maniac, nor is there any pursuit breakers, but I digress. And it has like not just elements from older games, but from games that came out this gen. Rivals with the health bar shit, and how colorful and beautiful everything looks at nighttime from 15. But there's been one thing that's been on my mind, and that's like it's like one question that lingers on my mind. Is this the last Need for Speed game? And I don't mean of the generation, because of course it's the last Need for Speed game of the gen, because next generation finna start. But I mean, is it the last Need for Speed game, period? Because I'm looking at this game, man, and I'm like, what more could they possibly do? Like, what more could Ghost Games possibly do to make the series feel fresh, feel new, without ripping anybody off at this point? Because only things I could see them possibly doing is bringing back older features. I don't know how they can bring anything new without ripping off from another racing franchise. I really don't. And that's kind of crazy to say, because if you had have said Need for Speed would rip off X franchise in last generation, or especially the generation before, people would have said, you got your damn mind if you think Need for Speed is going to rip off any other racing franchise. Because between that era, Need for Speed trailblazed the street racing genre. It inspired so many different other street racing games that we know today. I mean, hell, it inspired Forza Horizon. It inspired the Crew 2. And arguably, the Crew 2 has more of a cult following, and Forza Horizon has more of a cult following than Need for Speed has. Popularity has shifted in their favor. The paradigm has been shifted into those games' favor. And honestly, like, you gotta look back and say, okay, what could they possibly do that they can say, okay, this has never been done? I mean, the only thing you could say is, okay, they've never put a entire map of the United States in there. You could say that. You could say they've never went overseas in terms of location. Like, I've thought of like locations such as Hong Kong, maybe even Tokyo would be a dope setting for a Need for Speed game, considering that the game is very mountainous, probably has a good amount of canyons, you could drift up and down. So I digress, but it's just like, beyond that, I don't know what more they can do. I just cannot look and say, okay, what could they possibly do at this point? And it's arguably, this generation has been kind of sad when it comes to street racing games that I enjoy, particularly in the Need for Speed kind of vein. Hell, even the Crew or Forza Horizon to an extent, but I would say the Crew is like trash when it comes to street racing. It can't get it right, in my opinion. Have never played Forza Horizon. But it's just like, I can tell that it's in that same vein of Need for Speed. It's just not. It's pretty much Need for Speed without cops, Or it's just like, if you were to expand on Need for Speed Pro Street that and make it into a whole series, you could look at it being Forza Horizon. But when you look back at the end of this generation, you're gonna look back and say, okay, how many racing games were there? There wasn't that many racing games that came out this generation. Let's be honest. I mean, sure, we've had the Burnout Paradise remaster, but that's not new. We had what was the game called? On Rush that came out, a really goofy, silly game. Of course you had Crash Team Racing come back, and it was like a remaster, I believe, of the original. Sonic Team Racing as well. But other than kart racers and of course the Forza Motorsport series and Gran Turismo, like I mean, if you were to like generalize the racing game genre, like if you include the professional style street racing and arcade, you could say okay, it was a fair amount. But let's be honest, the arcade style street racing ain't been as popular this generation as it was last. This generation, the only arcade street racing games we've gotten was Onrush, the Forza Horizon series, and the Crew, and the Need for Speed games that came out this gen, which, mind you, was only, I think this was the third or fourth game, I believe. Let me see. Okay, Rivals. Excuse me, Rivals 15, Payback. Yeah, it's the four Need for Speed games in this generation. 4. And look how many we had last year. Look how many Need for Speed games we had last gen. Like, you talking about from 06 to 2013. That's a lot of street racing games. That's a lot of Need for Speed games. Like, I believe it's about 13 because they came out, 12 or 13 because they came out every year. So we talking Carbon, Pro Street, even the Shift series that no one asked or cared about. The Run, High Pursuit 2010. Then you had Most Wanted 2012, trash. Yeah, I think. Oh yeah, Undercover. I forgot about Undercover. We had Undercover as well. I thought that was a bit underrated. It was just we had more is what I'm trying to say. We had more Need for Speed games last gen than this gen. And not only that, you can make an argument and say those games was much better received. Those games was much better received, like both from fans and critics alike. Even had higher meta scores. Now, I'm not saying that Metacritic is a hill to die on, nor it should be, but it's something that you take into consideration. You look at those meta scores for those games. I mean, there may have been a couple that was in the 50s. I think Undercover like a 53, 58, something like that, and the rest was like in the high 70s, low 80s at least, I believe. Don't quote me. But it's just one of the things where it's like, yeah, I'm not gonna be surprised if this is the last Need for Speed game. I'm really not, because at this point, what can you do? Because when the new Need for Speed game comes out, the first Need for Speed game comes out for the next generation, it's not going to be till 2021. So yeah, it's not going to be till 2021 we get another Need for Speed, and that's going to be the next gen Need for Speed, which, I mean, it's going to be wild. It's going to be a minute, but I just don't know what they can do. Like, I really don't know what they can do, because I'm looking at this game like, okay, what y'all gonna do? Like, because other than bring back old features, I just don't know, man. Like, just don't have it the Madden effect where it's like, okay, it's the same thing. I mean, don't get me wrong, I don't think it can get boring because I like this style of street racing games, but it's like, at this point, y'all gotta call it a GG. Like, I just don't know, man. And on top of that, you've been smoked by the competition. The franchises that was inspired by you have taken over in popularity. Even though one I've never played and the other I don't like, I think it's trash, but it's still, I respect it, still has a bit of a cult following, to say the least. But it's like, at this point I feel like I'm just rambling. But I just think that maybe this is the swan song, and I'm gonna end up eating my words. I'm gonna end up eating my words by trying to say that Heat could be a swan song for this, not just for the generation, but for the series. I mean, honestly, I'm not gonna be, I'm not gonna be dick riding no Metacritic score, if it has a low score or whatever. I mean, but at the same time, I do respect Metacritic. I take the scores into consideration. I take review opinions from reviews into consideration, albeit like how I've been doing things nowadays. Like I don't really like look at reviews until after I've done beating the game. When I beat the game, then I watch the review to see if their opinion match my own. You know, that's all I do. I just look at each game like before they come out, like, all right, what you doing for me, what you bringing to the table to make me want to get you day one. And when I get it day one, I don't look at a review till I'm done. But I just went off in the tangent. But anyway, man, let me know what y'all think about this theory, all right? And if Need for Speed Heat is the swan song of the series, is the last one, boy, it better be good. It better be really good. I hope it's not the end. I'm not hoping it's gonna be the end of the franchise, but if it is, like, if I think it's good, I may still look back and be like, wait, the franchise ended on that, Lord. But anywho. Let me know what y'all think about this. Do you agree with me? Do you not? Do you think I'm batshit crazy? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button, subscribe, and tap the notification bell to stay updated on content like this. And till next time, I'm out, y'all. Peace. And also, just to put this out there, if you look at this generation, right, these Need for Speed games are mid at best compared to the Need for Speed games of last gen.